Warning, this video was made for satirical purposes only. Besides the ranking.
Keep your political beliefs to yourself and out of my comment section.
This video also contains a significant amount of spoilers.
Take these tier list rankings and explanations with a grain of salt. Also, don't mind the AI mispronouncing names sometimes. Hello, I'm Donald Trump.
I'm Joe Biden.
And I'm Barack Obama.
And we are going to show Brandon's tier list for every single character from the Quintessential Quintuplets.
Let's get this started. The first person to be ranked is Fuutarou Uesugi. He deserves to be put in the S tier. He is literally a Chad who got 5 hot girls to fall for him. He didn't care if they had feelings for him or not. All he did was focus on studying until he picked, confessed, and proposed to Yotsuba. That's Sigma male mentality if I've ever seen one.
If only you were much of a Chad like Fuutarou Uesugi, Donald.
Shut up, Joe. If you were as smart as Fuutarou Uesugi, you'd have 5 girls with you. Unfortunately, you don't. Boo-hoo.
You guys barely started ranking, and you're both already arguing. Can you guys stop the arguing and continue ranking?
All right, the next person to be ranked is Ichika. She's going to be put in the S tier. She's Brandon's least favorite Quint, but she definitely doesn't deserve all the hate. Sure, she was a snake dressed up as Miku and tried to deceive Fuutarou, but if you compare it to the stuff Yotsuba has done, then nah. She definitely is less of a snake than Yotsuba. She's the most popular out of all the Quints since she's a movie star and is social with lots of people in school, so you got to give her that. Lastly, she is the eldest out of all the Quints, and in the end, cares about her sisters a lot. If only she got more character development.
Wow, that's some pretty based explanation.
Don't thank me. Thank Brandon.
All right, it's my turn. The next person to be ranked is Nino. She'll be put in the S tier right after Fuutarou, but right before Ichika. She is easily Brandon's most favorite Quint. She's also my favorite Quint as well, without a doubt. Her character development throughout the entire series were peak. Her aggressiveness is immaculate. She is a go-getter. If she wants it, she'll have it. She cares about all of her sisters and can also be overprotective at times. She is arguably the most lewd one out of all the Quints, which is a good thing. She is definitely the most trendy and fashionable one out of all the Quints as well. She is the queen of cooking and can easily be a housewife. Nino is proof that hate to love can happen, and it did happen. She is what makes a tsundere.
Donald, as much as I don't like you, that was also some pretty based explanation.
Brandon's explanations, including mine, have always been based. You don't have to tell me twice.
Okay, moving on. The next person to be ranked is Miku. She'll be put in the S tier right after Nino, but right before Ichika. She's Brandon's second favorite Quint. In Brandon's opinion, she's arguably the most realistic and IRL girlfriend that someone could have. Her brunette hair also makes her the easiest to distinguish from the rest. Her voice is one of the cutest out of all the Quints. She's a shy and timid girl who never tried to deceive anyone to get to Fuutarou. She was too shy to even confess to him. She was also too timid to be part of the sisters' war. The way she got excessively jealous when anyone wanted to get Fuutarou was cute. All she wanted was him for herself. She was the worst cook out of all the Quints, but never gave up to learn how to cook, and ultimately opened up a shop with Nino where they both serve and make food. Overall, her character development was practically on par with Nino's. With all of these reasonings, this is why Miku is one of the top fan-favorite Quints and deserves her spot on this tier list.
Once again, that's pretty based explanation. Also, Donald, you realize you're the one who should have explained Miku, right? You took Barack Obama's turn. Barack was the one who was supposed to explain Nino.
Don't care, plus didn't ask, plus L plus ratio.
Whatever, man. The next person to be ranked is Yotsuba. She is Brandon's fourth favorite Quint, although I'd personally put her as my favorite Quint.
Of course you'd put her as your favorite Quint, Joe. You like childlike women.
What? That is just simply not true, man.
Can you guys shut up and continue the rankings?
Yotsuba will be put in the S tier right after Miku, but right before Ichika. She is Futarou's first and only love. In Brandon's opinion, she lacked the most character development out of the rest of the Quints throughout season 1 and 2. The movie, however, was focused on Yotsuba and showed her entire past and how she wanted to change because of Fuutarou. That was peak, no doubt about it. In the flashbacks that were shown, it revealed that Yotsuba was the snakiest out of all the sisters. She was willing to leave all of them in the dust and strive to be the best. When she was about to be transferred to another school, all her sisters revealed that they'd been cheating on their tests as well. So they could all be transferred, along with Yotsuba. After that, she changed and cared for all of her sisters and was a people's person. She never took part in the sisters' war and still ended up winning it. She is the most energetic and athletic out of all the Quints, so you got to give her that. Lastly, she was the one who became Futarou's wife, so you have to inhale up the copium and accept the fact that Yotsuba was the girl who won, kissed, confessed, got picked, and ultimately married Fuutarou. W's all around for Yotsuba.
I completely agree with all that was said. Yotsuba deserves to win in every single way.
Wrong. Nino deserves to be the bride. The ending was rigged.
Shut up, Donald. Rigged this, rigged that. Now let me take back my turn and rank Itsuki. Itsuki will be put in the S tier right after Miku, but right before Yotsuba. Itsuki is Brandon's third favorite Quint. She was the first one to meet Fuutarou in high school. Her pouts, cowlick, and eating are the most iconic. Itsuki herself as a character just screams cute. When Itsuki and the rest of the Quints see their grandpa, they all dress up as Itsuki. She is arguably one of the most wholesome out of all the Quints. She cares for Raiha the most, with the exception of Yotsuba. She was also the only one who didn't fall in love with Fuutarou. She is the youngest Quint who looked up to her mom the most and wanted to become a teacher just like her. In the end, she succeeded, followed her dreams, and ultimately became a teacher. She had great overall character development, and honestly, who could hate Itsuki? Everyone loves her. That's why she's also my favorite Quint.
Great job, Barack. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Moving on. The next person to be ranked is Isanari Uesugi. He will be put in the A tier. He always looked after Fuutarou and Raiha no matter what and was a Chad overall. Now we know where Fuutarou got his Chadness from. He also knew the Quints' biological father, Maruo and Rena, back when he was in school. He deserves this spot in the A tier.
I think I can also agree that Isanari Uesugi was a great dad.
The next person to be ranked is Raiha. She will be put in the A tier, but right before Isanari Uesugi, although again, I would personally put her first.
Like I said, Joe, you only want to put her first or in the S tier because you like...
Shut up, Donald, I didn't ask. As I was saying, Raiha deserves her spot in the A tier because she's the best E-moto anyone could ever ask for. She was unique and cared a lot for the Quints for the most part. Her cuteness and innocence is what made Itsuki love her. She always stuck by Futarou's side and was always there for him when he needed her, even though there were barely any moments of her in the movie. Season 1 and 2 suffice for Raiha deserving her spot in the A tier.
Good stuff, Joe. Next is Mrs. Uesugi. Unfortunately, she didn't get any actual cameo besides her portrait being shown, but she probably would have been a great mother, just like the father. So she'll be the first to be put in the C tier.
Moving on, the next person to be ranked is Maruo. At first, he didn't really care for the daughters whatsoever. He didn't even know what kind of problems they had going on in the apartment. He just gave them money and didn't really look after them. Eventually, he ended up caring for the Quints and even attended their wedding. It's nice to see Maruo go from not liking and wanting to prevent Fuutarou from marrying any of the Quints to allowing the marriage and attending their wedding. He isn't necessarily the best, but he also isn't necessarily the worst. He deserves a spot in the B tier.
Now it's time for Rena's turn. Rena was a great and caring mom and loved every single one of her daughters, no matter what. She was there for them, as opposed to the biological dad, which we'll get onto in a bit. She is the biggest role model for Itsuki. She's also the source for all of the Quints' looks, so we can thank her for that. She'll be placed in the S tier, but right after Ichika. She deserves that S tier spot.
The next person to be ranked is the Quints' grandfather. He was a very caring and protective grandpa and was a very wise man as well. He is the one who originally said that you can tell the Quints apart as long as you have love. More character development would have been nice, but overall he is a great addition to the series. He will be put in the B tier, but right before Maruo.
The next person to be ranked, but the last of the Nakano family, is Mudou. He was a teacher for Rena, Maruo, and Isanari in the past. He is an ugly, horrible person and a piece of garbage. Once he found out that Rena was giving birth to quintuplets, he left her. Now all of a sudden, he wants to attend the festival and reveal himself as the biological father of the Quints. He couldn't even tell that Itsuki was disguising as Miku because, as said before multiple times, you can only tell them apart if you have love, and clearly Mudou had no love. He rightfully deserves to be put in the F tier. Rip Bozo, you will not be missed or ranked higher.
For once, I actually agree with you, Donald. Also, since that was the last of the Nakano family, let's speed run these rankings, shall we?
Aye, aye, Captain.
The next person to be ranked is Iba. She's a Yandere type person. She didn't give a crap about exams and only wanted to focus on track. She pressured the track team a bunch as well. She deserves to be the first person in the D tier. Even though she's the first person to be put in the D tier, she won't be the last.
The next person to be ranked is the history teacher. He taught Fuutarou some stuff and also seemed to care for him when Fuutarou was sick. He also is literally a bald rat. He'll be put in the C tier, but right after Mrs. Uesugi.
The next person to be ranked is Hongo. She was the basketball team captain. She thanked Yotsuba for filling in for someone for a basketball game. Hongo even offered Yotsuba to be on the team. If there were more basketball scenes that were written, Hongo would be a great fit. She'll be put in the C tier, right after Mrs. Uesugi, but right before the history teacher.
The next person to be ranked is Maeda. He first didn't like Fuutarou, then ended up being one of his close friends. Maeda even asked Fuutarou how he can get a girlfriend himself. Fuutarou was the reason why Maeda and his girlfriend, now wife, got together, ended up getting married, and had a child. Maeda was a great addition to the series overall. He'll be put in the B tier, right before Maruo, but right after the Quints' grandfather.
The next person to be ranked is Matsui. She is Maeda's wife. There wasn't much about her, but she was there for the boy Maeda, and that's all that matters. She'll be put in the C tier, right after Mrs. Uesugi, but right before Hongo.
The next person to be ranked is Otori. She's a friend of Nino. There also wasn't much about her other than being a close friend of Nino. She'll be put in the C tier, right after the history teacher.
The next person to be ranked is the guidance teacher. He was the person guarding the school entrance. He was dumb enough to get fooled by the Quints dressing up as Yotsuba. He brought Fuutarou into the guidance office and got him in trouble. He'll be put in the D tier after Eba.
The next person to be ranked is Tsubaki. She was a friendly girl who was a member of the broadcasting club. She cared about everyone, and her energy resembles Yotsuba a lot. She'll be put in the B tier right after Maruo.
The next person to be ranked is Aoi. She was a friend of Tsubaki. She barely got any screen time or character development, but she had a lot of potential to be on the same level as Tsubaki. She'll be put in the C tier right after the history teacher, but right before Otori.
The next person to be ranked is Yamada. Again, she's also another friend of Nino, and there also wasn't much about her other than being a close friend of Nino. She'll also be put in the C tier right after Otori.
The next person to be ranked is Yamauchi. He's a student who always gets into arguments wherever he goes, regardless if it was at school or not. And he wasn't really a great addition to the series overall. He'll be put in the D tier, but right before Eba.
The next person to be ranked is Yusuke Takeda. He is the pretty boy of the series. He always wanted to beat Fuutarou, but always ended up being below him. He ended up being supportive and a great friend towards Fuutarou. He was a great addition to the series, and I sometimes wish there were more scenes of him. He'll be put in the B tier right after Maeda, but right before Maruo.
The next person to be ranked is Ebata, the butler. He cared for the Quints and took care of them since they were young. He even was going to tutor them after Fuutarou originally quit. He is a very respectable and humble person. He'll be put in the B tier right after the Quints' grandfather, but right before Maeda.
The next person to be ranked is the soccer coach. He didn't do much other than be a soccer coach for the Quints and have a crush on the Quints' mother, Rena. He'll be put in the D tier right before Yamauchi.
The next person to be ranked is Komugiya's manager. She was barely shown throughout the entire series, but she was very supportive of Miku. She seems like a generally happy person overall. She'll be put in the C tier right after Aoi, but right before Otori.
The next person to be ranked is the Kurobara school chairman. There was only one actual scene, and he seemed like a cold guy who talked with Maruo in transferring schools. He'll be put in the D tier right before Eba, but right after Yamauchi.
The next person to be ranked is Oda. He was a film producer for Oda Talent Productions and also Ichika's manager for acting. He cared about Ichika a lot when it came into acting, and also hinted that he wanted Fuutarou to be part of the acting industry as well. He'll be put in the C tier right after Mrs. Uesugi, but right before Matsui.
The next person to be ranked is Sanada. He's a childhood friend of Takebayashi and has also known Fuutarou since they were little. He showed up to the festival but didn't go out of his way to see Fuutarou himself. He still seems like a studious person to this day. Who knows, maybe him and Takebayashi are more than friends. He'll be put in the C tier right after Hongo, but right before the history teacher.
The next person to be ranked is Shimoda. She is a cram school teacher. She helped Itsuki follow her dreams of being a teacher. She gave Itsuki helpful and credible advice in being a teacher and questioned Itsuki if she wants to be a teacher just because she wants to follow her mom or if that's truly her passion. She'll be put in the B tier right before Maeda, but right after Ebata.
The next person to be ranked is Revival's manager. He was always a tired manager but loved his job and loved to troll Fuutarou. He gave Fuutarou a cake to give to the Quints on Christmas. He even gave them free food when the Quints passed their exams. He also got his pastry shop to be a filming spot for a horror film that Ichika was in and got Itsuki to frequently visit there, so he knew what he was doing. He'll be put in the B tier right after Ebata, but right before Shimoda.
The next and last person to be ranked is Takebayashi. She's a childhood friend of Fuutarou. She cares a lot about Fuutarou from when they knew each other since kids to the school festival years later. Her presence at the school festival made majority, if not all, of the Quints jealous. She was nothing more to Fuutarou than an overall great friend. Her character development was greatly structured, especially for a side character, for the amount of time she was on screen. Takebayashi will be in the A tier right after Isanari Uesugi.
There we go. We're finished. This is Brandon's tier list for every single character from the Quintessential Quintuplets.
If this video gets 1,000 likes, I'll give you the link to this tier list so you're able to make your own rankings.
As always, stay tuned for more content from the Quintessential Quintuplets. Also, Brandon is the best Quintessential Quintuplets YouTuber.
ありがとうの花咲くたび